Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you love Naruto fanfics, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the story. Let's begin with part 1. Konoha. 3 years after the attack of the Kyuubi. Even though it's 3 years since that dreadful night, the village itself seems to be in tip-top shape with the rebuilds going very nicely. And on the street of Konoha, are so many villages as they're going on their day. And right now there's a lone girl with blonde short hair, blue eyes. Is she wearing a simple dress? Is she only 3 years old and she just doing her things since she could walk? She's very energetic. Because she off to meet Neko-san. As she walking down the road until she finds herself at the park, which she sees a woman wearing black clothing with something on that the little girl doesn't know much about, as the woman is long purple hair with a mask of a cat design, hit the nickname, Neko-san. The little girl says, Neko-san. She comes up to Neko-san. The woman says, oh hello Naruto. The now named Naruto smiles, as this is the 5th time since Naruto had first met Neko-san. Neko-san and Naruto sit on a bench. And both have a nice shack time, Naruto telling the woman about what happened since their last met. Oh, I made 2 friends not that long ago, Neko-san, said Naruto. Oh, that's wonderful Naruto, what's their names? One is Tifa-chan and the other is Hinata, but I like calling her Hina-chan, said Naruto. Neko-san listens more as the two eating their shacks. And I'm going to meet up with them soon for a playdate at Tifa's place, said Naruto with a smile. Oh, would you like to escort you? Said Neko-chan, and Naruto shakes as she gets off. No, I will be alright, as I can look after myself, as I'm Naruto Uzumaki. And I will see you next time, Neko-san, said Naruto as she smiles. She runs off as she waves bye to Neko-san. But little did Neko-san, or rather, her real name is Yugao, know it was the last time that she even saw the little girl again. Sometime later, within a week at the Hokage, Yugao and her team of Anbu Black Ops are finding out Naruto Uzumaki have been kidnapped and no one knows where she is or she could be. While somewhere, Naruto's friends are tearing for their missing friend and wondering if they did something to cause them, but their family is ensuring them it wasn't their fruit. Time skip 14 years later. Somewhere within the land of forests. Underground hideout. Open up with a person in front of it with the bright light as he says, it's time for your daily training, Valkyrie, as in the darkroom stands a 17-old girl with messy long blonde hair as it keeps in a long ponytail with dull blue eyes, as she wearing training clothes with her right arm seems to be smooth steel yet metallic. Her eyes look so dead as she walks up to the man as he stands aside and both head over toward a massive training course with everything one needs and more. The man is met up with other people as they bring up notes and scrolls like the one who got Valkyrie says while bringing up a clock, you may begin now. He clicks on a button and a timer starts. The girl finishes everything in recorded time. What she has done is run through obstacles, the wall, running to cross from piles, dodging anything that tries to hit her. Once it was done. Very good Valkyrie, you have beaten your previous record, now on to the next one, acrobatics, after that, hand-to-hand combat, said the man. And Valkyrie doesn't say anything as she goes over to the center of the training area. When they start with Valkyrie start doing every move possible and more, and thanks to years of training, Valkyrie is flexible as she does most advanced techniques, which are her standing on her left arm on the very top of the training area, which is a very long pole with strikes at the bottom. Then she does a few swinging of her legs while keeping balance. After that, Valkyrie went with the people as they went into a different room, which is the combat room. Waiting in a muscular woman is wearing the kinda same clothes as Valkyrie but less covering, and Valkyrie is ready to fight. The muscular woman says, bring it tiny, as she has her fists ready. A few moments later, the muscular is thrown onto the floor as Valkyrie stands there victoriously but with her own bruises, as the most noticeable one is the one on her left cheek with blood leaking out of her mouth. Valkyrie then has had enough and her arm turns into an energy cannon, but the man shouts, that's enough Valkyrie. I believe the time for the experiments, as we have much more to do to make you the perfect weapon. Valkyrie, as if she didn't have a choice even though many could tell she didn't want to listen, powers it down but then. Boom. They are shocked when one is blasted in half by Valkyrie and the woman screams bloody murder. They turn to see Valkyrie do it as the man says, "Valkyrie, I ordered you to stand down. If you know what's good for you." As a seal appeared on his arm with the same one that appeared on Valkyrie's forehead as the man says, "What the hell is going on?" Then a man wearing a headband with a slash mark on it, "We understand. And it's Konoha," said the man, with Valkyrie with her cannon at them as she doesn't understand what's going on. But then Valkyrie's eyes flash red and she changes the cannon to blaze at the monsters that did this to her as she cut off the man's arm with him shouting, "My arm." Then realize that Valkyrie is free now as he shouts, "Kill her. She mustn't get away from here." As he was bleeding, the red eyes turn back to blue as Valkyrie is met with the man with the headband's fist, but something happens as a kunai is stabbed into it. Valkyrie sees it as she turns to a door as if it were a dream from a time that seems so far away. She sees a woman wearing a white Neko mask. The woman says, "You ain't doing such a thing to her again. Not while I'm here, you bastard." Valkyrie then starts slashing at the monsters that had done the experiments on her and more. Once Valkyrie finished, she is standing there panting as she has done something she has been keeping in for a long time, her legs given as if they've given up from being tired and on her knees. And she begins to cry, letting years worth of tears build up to this point. The tears are streaming down her cheeks. The woman walks up to her, sits on her knees as she holds Valkyrie in her arms, and says, "It's okay, you're safe now, you're safe Naruto," as she rocking her. Sometime later, Konoha, Valkyrie or Naruto is in the office of Hokage as she sits in front of the third Hokage himself as he looks at her and he can't imagine what she had gone through all their years. Naruto looks at him with dead dull blue eyes then looks through the window, the third or Hiruzen. "Naruto, I'm relieved that you are alive and back home," said Hiruzen. Naruto does not answer at all. "Naruto, you're safe now, you don't have to keep this up anymore," said the third with Naruto not answering as she keeps looking out the window. The third sighs as he realizes those people had done more harm than he had thought. "This is not good," said the third while rubbing his temples. He snaps his finger and the Neko mask Anbu. "Yugao, could you take Naruto somewhere she can eat?" Neko nods and leads Naruto somewhere to eat. Outside of the Hokage tower, Yugao is next to Naruto, as she starts with, "How about we go get some steak? Or maybe barbecue?" As she is picking where to eat and Naruto isn't answering to none of it. Yugao sighs as those fuckers hope they burn in hell. Yugao thinks about it, as their walk with many people staring well not at Yugao rather, at Naruto. They see the dead look in Naruto's eyes, Yugao sighs. "Then she got it, how about we go get some ramen?" Naruto just has a small spark in her eyes at that. Yugao is thinking, "Yes, that works. You would like that. Come on, let's go have ramen," said Yugao as she held out her hand to her. Naruto takes the hand through at first hesitantly. But she takes it anyway and both head over to the best place to have ramen. A few minutes later as both arrived at a ramen stand called Ramen Ichiraku. "Here we are. I'm not sure if you had it here Naruto, but they have the best ramen of the whole village, maybe the whole land fire, so the owner says," said Yugao. Naruto just looks at the sign as if she tries to remember this but she doesn't. Yugao sighs in sorrow as no one deserves this. They went in. Naruto sees a man in his late 40s or maybe early 50s as he is wearing chef clothes with a hat with him saying, "Welcome." Naruto is just staring. The man says, "Have a seat you two, my daughter will be right with you," as he cooks the ramen. Naruto sits down and does not say anything. A few seconds later, a girl with brown hair wearing the same clothes as her father, says, "Welcome, I'm Ayame, what do you two like to order?" Naruto does not say anything but she slowly points to what she wants. Yugao sees it and says, "Oh, she would like a miso ramen." Ayame thinks that Yugao's friend must be mute. "Alright, one miso ramen and you miss," said Ayame as she turned to Yugao. Yugao orders the same thing. Ayame nods and gets her father the order. They waited for a while, then they got their order. Only Yugao starts to eat as she notices Naruto hasn't started, as Naruto has her hand hovering over the sticks as if something is telling her not to. Yugao says, "Naruto, you're not at that place anymore." Naruto slowly grabs the chopsticks as she slowly starts eating her food. Ayame turns to Yugao and asks, Is she alright? Yugao whispers into Ayame's ear of what Naruto went through. "Oh no," said Ayame as she covers her mouth. Yugao nods and says, "It will not be easy, but it seems Naruto has taken to silence, as she doesn't want to know what they did to her." After eating, both are walking around the village with Yugao showing her around since Naruto wasn't here when she was 3, thus she won't remember much. Someone sees them and he starts to drool. So this boy comes up to Naruto and being so close to her, he is making her uncomfortable as he says, "Hey there babe, would you like to hang?" He is cut off as he is staring down the barrel of the energy cannon and it seems ready to fire. The idiot starts to sweat badly as Yugao sees it a boy same age as Naruto as he wearing a black leather jacket with brown skin with red fang tattoos on his cheeks as he says while against a pole, "What the fuck? What was that for you crazy bitch?" Yugao says, "Actually you're the crazy one as she is a bit unstable and you did get in her face as she has had some trauma." Then she realizes Naruto is coming toward the boy with her cannon arm turned into an arm with claws for fingers as she ready to stab him with it with the look to kill in her eyes. Yugao appears and grabs her by putting her arms under Naruto's armpits to stop her. "Naruto, wait, stop." As Naruto isn't listening as she struggles against Yugao's hold with the boy screaming with his eyes turning white from fear. "It is okay Naruto, he is an idiot who does not know any better. Not a threat," said Yugao as she held Naruto back with Naruto still at it until Yugao had no choice to do this. She quickly chops Naruto's neck, causing the blonde girl to pass out. Yugao picks her up and takes her away. While the boy, he says to himself, I think I wet myself," as he is just sitting there. Then the others laugh at him. Later back at the office of the Hokage, Naruto is sleeping on the couch, with Yugao talking with Hiruzen as well as what happened. "I think Naruto should have a bit of social interaction as it's clear she's very unstable," said Yugao. The third sighs, "This isn't good, they wanted a weapon and they got one. But I think they would have lost control of her one day if we did not rescue her," said the third as he doesn't want to think what could have happened. "Maybe we should have someone try to help her, slowly talk to her, help her find her way back to having a normal life," said Yugao as she was very worried about that. Since Naruto only had 3 years worth of normal before she was taken. The third thinks, this won't be easy at all. Yugao remembers her last conversation with Naruto years back about her 2 friends. "I think I know the way that hopefully could help," said Yugao. The third asks, "Okay, what is it?" Couple hours later, the door opens and a pair of girls walk in. One has long dark brown hair with red eyes as she wearing clothes that fit for fighting yet casual wear with a jacket that covers over her chest and stomach as it hugging on her triple I, close to J, with no sleeves with black skirt pants with her nice long legs as her figure is amazing as well fit from years of training. This is Tifa Lockhart. The other is a girl with long ink blue hair and white eyes as she wears a heavy jacket as it hides her figure and blue pants. This is Hinata Hyuga. "Do you know why you're here, girls?" asked the third. Hinata shakes her head. "No, we were told to come." She stops as she and Tifa notice Naruto sitting on the couch as she stares at the cup of tea in front of her. "And Naruto?" asked Tifa, and Hinata slowly came up to her. Naruto turned her, then both came up to her. Both going to tear with Hinata says, "It is Naruto." Tifa hugs Naruto. Naruto in her mind, as she knows that she knows them, which why is she not in her attack mode? Hinata asks, what is wrong with her? She looks at Naruto's eyes. Sit down, as Yugao here will take Naruto to have a shower as she needs one. Naruto is taken to the shower by Yago, leaving the two with the cage. Sigh, as you two know. Naruko has vanished without saying a word, said Hokage. Tifa turned to her side. How couldn't we? Our friendship has fallen apart cause, Sai we had this made believe that it was one another's fault, with Hinata nodding to that. The third sighs and says, it was not any of your faults at all. As he goes on, what happens is nothing but guesses of what Naruko could have to Naruko for the past 14 years. Meanwhile with Naruko and Yugao. Yugao is standing there as she keeping an eye on Naruko as she was showering. Yugao couldn't help but notice that Naruko the joint of the shoulder and her right arm. Yugao, they're monsters, those cut off her arm. She sees a scar on the back shoulder blade as she notices a few scars on it. Naruko has her eyes close with the water running, as, within her mind, she hears her voice when she was 10 as their words were. No, what are you doing? No. No, 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 no. Followed by a sound of a blade spinning along with her screaming. Naruko has a flash of fear in her eyes as she touches her arm while the water drips down her body. Back in the Hokage office. Tifa and Hinata are horrified along with them feeling very bad, cause while they are fighting and blaming each other for something that isn't their fault, Naruko however was going through something so inhumane. Hinata, Tifa, now you two know, can I count you two not only to help your long-lost friend who is so broken but also each other and repair your friendship? Hinata and Tifa turn to each other with tears in their eyes. Both hug each other as they say, I'm so sorry. The third smiles at seeing this. Once they finished doing that, the door opens as they see a clean Naruko and Yugao as Naruko is wearing a robe. Yugao says, I think I know the first thing you girls will do first. Clothes for Naruko, as she holds the training outfit that Naruko was wearing as it's very dirty. They look at each other and say, as long as it is not orange. Naruko has a deadpan look as she hasn't felt this clean for a long time and she likes it. They drag her to the clothing shop, but Tifa comes back as she walks up to the third who is holding up the money for the clothes. Then Tifa leaves. Later at one of the clothing shops, changing room. Naruko is with Hinata and Tifa with her, as they are picking out the clothes for Naruko. Tifa says, you know, for someone gotten kidnapped, she has an amazing figure, as they look at Naruko's figure with double eye with long and thick legs with thicker thighs, wide hips as Naruko's body seemed to be very flexible and even though her hair is messy and long, it seems it hasn't gotten any care for a long time. Naruko is just looking like she is dead. Hinata says, we have a lot of work to do, with Tifa nods. As their first look for a bra for Naruko to wear. They look and find a few with Tifa saying, why is it so hard to find the right one? Hinata had found two at last. I know, she placed one on Naruko with the Uzumaki girl confused by this. Naruko is confused at this. Soon enough. Naruko is wearing a white bra with white panties which fit her too tight due to her very wide hips. Naruko is just looking at them. Hinata says, we will worry about that later, let's start with the shirts, with Tifa nodding to that. Naruko is trying on different shirts. From a white shirt, to something that doesn't look right to her. Until they found that it fits Naruko very well. It's a gray-white Chinese-style shirt with a long right sleeve with golden ink-style birds on the side as if they're flying off. Naruko seems to have a little spark in them. Both girls see this and know that Naruko likes this very much. So Tifa goes over and tells them to get them that style as many as they can get. As Hinata says, now for the bottom. Do you like pants, shorts or skirt? Naruko does not answer at all. Hinata, oh right, sorry, as she brings up the three things she said as she shows them. Naruko just blinks, as she looks at the skirt, shorts, and pants. Then points to pants. Hinata nods to that as she places the other two away and brings every kind of pants. Which so far, none couldn't fit as they were too tight for Naruko. Hinata says, oh maybe combat style will do you better. Then she brings black combat pants with belts on the left leg part with the right having pockets. Naruko tries them on and they fit her very well. And Naruko smiles a bit and more so when she tests them if they could match up with her flexible which they did with Hinata standing blushing in awe as she drops something as she says, I didn't think no one could bend like that. Tifa comes as she says, alright, I got the shirts and, oh my. She sees what Hinata sees. As they see Naruko's right leg behind her arm. They are shocked as Naruko places herself in a normal position. Once that was done as well, getting more pants for Naruko. They're now headed out to fix Naruko's hair. Naruko just keeps staring into space as she at the hair salon's door with Hinata is inside and talking to one of the people as this place is where her mother goes to a lot, as one of the women who seem to be in her 40s with dark skin, says, alright Hinata dear. Let me see the damage. The woman screams seeing Naruko's hair and the state it's in, oh hell no, whoever this does to you, they belong in hell, come here, sit here and let me do my magic or if my name isn't Jean. Naruko just blinks blankly as she is pulled into the salon and is seated. Jean is thinking about what she could do. Hinata, why not you and your friend here come back within 2 hours, as this will be a long one, said Jean. I think we should stay as Naruko is not what she used to be and is a little unstable, said Tifa to Jean who wants to make sure Naruko does not destroy anything at all. Jean says, look here, I had done this for a long time and I have gone through a lot of things, hell, I even worked during the attack of that giant fox thing. She then hears an employee scream and she turns to see Naruko's arm has turned into a blade. But that is a new one, yeah stay here. Jean said and Hinata with Tifa nod, told ya, said Tifa. Jean then gets her tools ready and says, I have work to do. 2 hours later of kicking, blade swinging and so much more later, Jean was able to do her job, even though it was the toughest hair cutting, washing, and style ever. But she got it done. Both Hinata and Tifa see short yet spiky blonde hair with a very nice glow with a long band as it braids in a nice style. In all, turns out, Naruko is a very beautiful girl and Naruko is still staring blankly. Jean says, I did what I can but I did it, as she looks like she went through a war. Sorry about her as I said she is not the most stable person right now, said Tifa as she getting closer to Naruko hoping she doesn't do anything else as Jean says, Jay just make sure she isn't like this next time and also I'm putting this on your father's tab Hinata. Hinata nods in understanding as she sees Jean passed out. Tifa says, Naruko, are you okay? As she gets closer to Naruko. Naruko just stares blankly as Tifa places a hand on Naruko and Naruko doesn't do anything which means it's safe. They lead her out into Hokage's tower. However, Hinata and Tifa sigh as they come across someone they didn't want to cross. As they see a girl with long pink hair with green eyes as she wears a red dress and shorts. This girl is named Sakura Haruno. Naruko just stares blankly at her like she is nothing at all but then a certain sound is heard which Naruko knows very well as she looks up and sees a few birds on the edge of a building as they are chirping. Meanwhile with the Hokage and Yugao. Yugao says, Hokage-sama, I've been meaning to tell you before I come in the room with Naruko and those monsters, I heard one of them calling her Valkyrie. Oh dear this is not good at all, said Hiruzen as he looked down with a pile that said, Project Valkyrie, yes but there must be a reason why calling Naruko that, said Yugao. It is also the name of her new arm of hers, said the third as he opens the file, but there's more to it as it seems, as the first thing he sees is he sees a blueprint of a person with not just an arm that Naruko has, as there's something else. Like a pair of wings. Back with the group, while Naruko is looking at the birds. Hinata says, let's go another way. Tifa, they turn and see Naruko is gone, both, Naruko. She looks around at anywhere she could have gone to but then, well, who do we got here? Said the voice of Sakura as both girls turned back to see Sakura. Sakura we are busy, what do you want now? Asked Tifa, Hinata rolling her eyes as she knew what Sakura was going to say. Oh nothing much. I just heard there's someone new hanging with you though I'm surprised that you two even together again, I thought you weren't friends anymore. We found out our friend vanishing was not our fault at all. Said Hinata, and she just returns home today and we shopping and just return. Tifa gets cut off as she says, yeah the so-called friend of yours, how can I be sure if this friend of yours isn't an imaginary? 'Cause I for one never heard of this friend of yours, what's her name? Naruko Uzumaki. And if she was real, I bet she's nothing but ugly. She stops cause. They hear flapping and the look up to see Naruko flying like a bird free in the sky without a care in the world while a group of birds, even falcons, and eagles flying with her. And it's not just them, everyone stopping where they are as they see the girl with wings flying above them. Tifa and Hinata shout, Naruko. Naruko jolts as she looks down and goes back to them as she has her head down as if she's in trouble and about to get punished as her wings vanish. Tifa and Hinata hug Naruko as they were worried about her. Naruko is confused by this. As Sakura has her mouth wide open in shock, not by the fact that the blonde hair has wings and can fly, she's also very beautiful. Sakura starts to growl. Hinata says, let's get you back, alright. Naruko just stares at Hinata in confusion, then she notices Sakura. She gets out of Hinata's and Tifa's hug as she walks over to the pink hair girl. Sakura now stares at Naruko's figure as well as her large. Naruko just stared blankly at her. What? What are you looking at? Why you big bitch? Naruko just keeps staring. Hinata says, she's a mute, with Tifa. And everyone around hears this and starts talking about Sakura, some even glaring at her. Sakura just starts growling, then she runs off. Naruko is confused at that. Hinata says, let's head back, as she and Tifa come up to Naruko and take her toward the tower. With Naruko confused. Time skip a month later. Hinata and Tifa with Naruko are at the academy with the Hokage in front of them along with a couple of Anbu by his side. Hinata says, I can't believe that you joining us, Naruko-chan. Naruko just does not say anything, only nods. But still you should take it easy cause our classmates are a bit, you will see, said Tifa. Naruko just walks with them as she just wants to be flying right now. Hiruzen is thinking about the past month and Kami help him, it was rough. Naruko does not trust many men at all after what happened to her, and so far, Naruko seems to trust only Hiruzen himself. And not only that, Naruko doesn't like sleeping alone at night. So Naruko is living with Yugao as she seems like Yugao has a good bond with her. As Yugao had said, Naruko sometimes gets night terrors. The third is planning on having Yugao as a sensei of Naruko, with Hinata and Tifa as Naruko's teammates. Then the group arrived at the side of the academy with no one around, but the Hokage says, Hinata, Tifa, you two go on ahead, I need to speak with your sensei about Naruko. They nod in understanding. We will see you soon, alright, said Hinata. Naruko has a small nod. With that, both girls head out. And the Hokage turns to Naruko. Naruko, are you ready? Said the third. Naruko just stares without anything showing. Hokage says, alright, as his sweat drops. With that, both she and Hokage head inside as the Anbu hide in the shadows. When they arrived outside of the classroom, Lord Third knocked on the door, which the sensei was confused about. A man named Iruka comes up to the door and sees the Hokage standing there. Iruka tells everyone in the class to hold as he returns. After a bit, Irok walks in as he says, well class, seems like we got a new student joining us today. Iruka motions Naruko into the room and she walks in. And everyone's jaws drop at the sigh of Naruko. Many girls are not happy and a lot of the boys think that they will get her, but Kiba is scared. As one of the boys, I never thought I would see such a girl. Naruko just keeps staring. As others say, not only she has looks, just look at her body. She's on par with Tifa. Tifa is tightening her fists as she thinks. Calm down Tifa, boys will be boys. Hinata is thinking, they're going to die ain't there. Then Iruka says Naruko can sit with Tifa and Hinata. Oh, and the Hokage has told me a few about the new student here. First off, she's a mute, said Iruka. They are surprised about that. And before any of you ask, no, she's not born like this, there's a reason for this, but it's not for me to share, and the next one is for the boys. Don't get too close to her, they are asking in their heads why not. If you know, ask the Hokage, said Iruka. Now let's begin our today's lesson. Naruko is listening and is bored out of her skull. Which is why she turned her head to the window. She sees birds flying in the sky. Naruko smiles at that. Sometime later, it's lunchtime. Naruko is sitting with Tifa and Hinata as all three are eating. Hinata says, "So far, nothing bad has happened yet," as she is eating a sandwich. As Tifa, "Indeed, though I'm very sure the guys here really want to talk Naruko though," as Naruko is behind them. Naruko does not say anything at all as she is eating, and whatever she has left, she tosses to the birds. Tifa and Hinata are surprised that Naruko likes birds. As Naruko watches the birds. But that was short-lived. A kid with a duck's butt haircut walks up to them. More so, he stands in front of Naruko. Naruko looks up and she is staring at him, and the only thing she is thinking is, duck. Tifa sees this. "Sasuke, what do you want? You to know you were warned." As she wonders what this jerk wants. Sasuke says, "To have this girl as my wife to be." Sakura is pissed at hearing Sasuke said that he's going to make his wife be with mute bitch and not her, as she biting on a handkerchief in anger. Hinata says, "Sasuke, if you have any common sense, please listen that you don't want to get any closer to her." Sasuke does not listen to Hinata and gets closer to Naruko as he says, "Or what? What's she gonna do?" SLA. Next thing he knew, he's planted on the floor. "Slap me." Sasuke resumes saying as Naruko has her left hand on his neck with her right turning into a blade, and she starts to stalk up to him ready to remove his head. "Naruko, stop please," said both girls as they try to pull her away from Sasuke, but it seems that they might need help. Then Tifa gets an idea. Naruko thinks about the birds. Naruko stops in her tracks as her right arm turns back to normal, letting go of Sasuke as she goes back bird watching. Hinata and Tifa sigh happily they stopped her. Sasuke rubs his head as he says, "The hell was that?" "That is why boys are not allowed near her," said Hinata with Tifa nodding. Sasuke is shocked that the mute bitch had the gall to hit him, and to make matters worse, Sakura comes running over as she says, "That bitch is crazy." "That's what it is. There's no way someone would do such a thing to Sasuke." Tifa says, "Sakura, he was warned not to go near Naruko and yet he thinks he is allowed to do whatever the fuck he wants." "Well, he can't." As this is going on, Naruko is in her world while a few birds gather near her. Naruko is just watching the birds. While the talk is going on until the bell rings, Naruko gets up and heads back into the classroom. Hinata and Tifa say, "Hey wait Naruko." With Sakura turned to Sasuke and says, "So do you want?" "No I don't," said Sasuke in a cold voice as he just leaves there. Sakura drops, but then she says, "Oh, he's so cool." Sometime later at the back of the academy. Everyone is on the academy's training grounds, with Iruka setting up the sparring matches. As he is doing that, he wonders how Naruko will do, as he isn't sure if he should let her take part in this or not. But he got his answer as he hears, "Iruka-sensei, I request to face the new girl." Iruka sighs and turns to see Sasuke make the request. Iruka says, "Sasuke, I'm not sure about this," as Naruko isn't in the right state of mind at the moment. "I don't care. I challenge her to a fight," demands Sasuke with an angry look on him. Naruko just blankly stares at him as she sits under a tree. While Hinata and Tifa is thinking while sweating, "He's fucking die if Iruka-sensei allows this." "I am sorry Sasuke, I can't do that," said Iruka, but then he sees Naruko gets up and she comes up to the ring. Naruko stands there with a blank look in her eyes. Sasuke says, "Seem like she wants to fight Iruka-sensei." Sasuke then walks into the ring like he owns the place as he says, "Time to show you what happens if you go against a Uchiha elite." While Naruko is just standing there with a deadpan face on her. Sasuke growls as this bitch is ignoring him. Iruka isn't sure about, but he has no choice as he says, "Are you two ready?" Naruko just gets into a fighting stance, which is her putting her right away aside as she has her left up in guard. Sasuke raises a brow at this as he never had such a stance. He gets into the Uchiha clan stance. Iruka looks at both as he waits. Hinata says, that's unique stances Naruto has, and Tifa says, yeah, I have never seen it before. As they hear Iruka say, begin. Sasuke is waiting for the bitch to attack, but she has not charged in blindly and he is getting angrier, so he decides to make the first move as he rushes toward her as he throws his right arm. Naruto dodges by doing a split which everyone but Hinata and Tifa are shocked to see. Naruto quickly gets on her chest, then gets a handstand as she uses her legs to grab Sasuke by placing her legs on his head. Sasuke is shocked at what Naruto just did as he gets tossed by this as Naruto uses her hands to jump and gets back on her feet. Sasuke hits the ground face first but is shocked at this, as Naruto does a little trant by doing a bit of a ballerina dance. Sasuke gets up as he says with his eyes red in anger. You fucking bitch, hold still so I can kick your. Yelled Sasuke as he comes up to her and Naruto is dodging without trying and Sasuke is just getting angrier as he throws his right fist, but it was caught by Naruto's left hand and she twisted it. Sasuke screams in pain, then he gets kneed to the stomach. Sasuke's fangirls are shocked that he is losing badly by some unknown girl as Sakura shouts, Sasuke. Then Naruto throws him out of the ring into the wall. Iruka blinks as he says, winner Naruto, and Naruto walks out of the ring and back to the tree. One of the girls says, she's a badass. Naruto sits under the tree. While the boys are thinking, what the fuck just happened and how can she do that? Both Hinata and Tifa come up to her, that was amazing Naruto. Naruto just looks at them both, as she holds up a little bird to them. They smile as Naruto loves birds. Before they know, a massive eagle lands on Naruto's head. They are surprised at this. Hinata says to Tifa, Tifa, yes Hinata. Asked Tifa. There's an eagle on Naruto's head. Seeing and I am still working on the believing part, said Tifa. The eagle squeaks a bit. Naruto has a small smile. Later, at sundown, Naruto is at her home with Yugao as she is looking out the window. Yugao is making dinner, then the doors open up as a man walks in as he's sick looking as he wearing a Junin outfit as he says, I'm home coughs. Yugao says, hello Hayate. As she smiles at him, Hayate comes up to Yugao and kisses her on the cheek with Hayate, how was everything today? Asked Hayate. Yugao says, I'm doing fine. For Naruto, she showed me this. She stops cooking for a few seconds as she brings up a drawing of what Naruto's day has been. There's a nice drawing of Hinata and Tifa, along with a stick figure. What Hayate is guessing is the Uchiha kid because he sees a duck on the head with an arrow underline the word, duck. Hayate laughs at the stick figure of the Uchiha kid but he stops as he coughs a bit. That is funny, he says, he sits. Indeed it is, says Yugao. Hayate sees Naruto looking out at the birds and smiles knowing she loves the birds as there is a group of them flying by. Hayate then puts a book on the table and Naruto looks and it is a book of birds. Naruto looks at it then at Hayate who sits back down. She then slowly picks up the book and opens it to see an index for where to find the birds in the book of what pages they are on. After a bit, they had dinner. After dinner, Naruto is reading the book that Hayate got her. Until she falls asleep. The next day at the academy, Naruto is in her seat bored with Iruka droning on with a face of being bored to death. Her friends agree with her on this as Iruka bores them to death with the ongoing talking. Soon enough, break comes, with Hinata and Tifa saying that they will be back as they're going to get some snacks. Leaving Naruto to herself in her book of birds. Sakura and a small group of girls march up to Naruto. Naruto hasn't noticed them but she does hear, Naruto was it. Naruto slowly raises her head from the book and sees Sakura and the girls behind her. Naruto then raises her eyebrow at them. Listen here you fucking bitch. I don't give a damn if you are mute. What you did to Sasuke is unforgivable. Said Sakura as the others are watching this one of guys, dude does Sakura have a death wish? Naruto closes her book and just stares at Sakura with dull eyes as she waiting what Sakura has to say with the hand motion of, Go on. Sakura starts steaming with her eye twitching as one of the girls from the back of the class. This is why everyone calls you a bitch, Sakura. Sakura yells at the girl, shut up. But then Naruto gets up and Sakura turns back to Naruto, but to see that Naruto had got up and she realizes that Naruto is a bit taller than her. Naruto does something she hasn't done for a long time, and that is, "You are a sad little girl," Naruto in a rusty yet deep female voice, which shows how long it's been since she has talked. But even so, it holds a lot of power. Sakura is shaking while the others are shocked at that. Sakura tries to say something back but couldn't. Then Tifa and Hinata come back and see all the shocked faces. "Did we miss something big?" asked Tifa. "Yeah, you did. Naruto just talked and she just put Sakura in her place," said a guy from the back. Tifa and Hinata's eyes widen in shock. Naruto walks past Sakura, who is looking down with tears in her eyes while the group of girls moves out of Naruto's way. Naruto then heads outside to sit under the tree with Hinata and Tifa coming up behind her. Tifa and Hinata are surprised they will have to let Yugao and the cage know about this later. Naruto is sitting and Hinata asks, "Are you okay?" Naruto nods as she comes back with her deadpan face. With Hinata smiles, "That's good." Tifa says, "Well, it's good to see that you can stand up to yourself and not trying to kill someone." Naruto looks at them and them as her eyes say, "Yeah, but it is fucking hard." Tifa pats Naruto's head. Naruto opens her book as she sees a photo of a falcon with silver wings. Naruto starts to read it as it says this falcon is a very rare breed as it locates the outskirts of the land of demons and much more. Naruto is in awe of the falcons. Hinata says, "I wonder what she is looking at," as she is eating her snack, which is a cinnamon roll. Tifa shrugs as she is drinking milk. Naruto shows them the falcon with silver wings. And both look at it and Hinata says, that looks a lot like the one my aunt owns." Naruto is shocked and looks at Hinata at that. Hinata is surprised by Naruto's reaction as she sees Naruto getting closer to Hinata, with Hinata sensing what Naruto wants. I take it why you want to see it." Naruto is nodding her head. Tifa giggles at this. Hinata sighs as this is going to be a long day. Later in the day, at the Hyuga mansion, Hinata is leading both Naruto and Tifa while Naruto has starred in her eyes. Hinata knocks on her aunt's door and hears, "Come in." Hinata opens the door and enters with Tifa and Naruto, as all three see a Hyuga woman as she enjoys herself a cup of tea with a falcon resting on a piece of a tree branch. Naruto slowly heads over to the falcon, as the woman says, "On Hinata, what a surprise, and I see you bring friends. Is she okay?" She looks at Naruto, who is looking at the falcon in awe. Hinata says, "She's has quite a liking toward birds, falcons more so." The falcon looks at Naruto and to Hinata, and her aunt's shocked. The falcon takes flight and lands on Naruto's shoulder and lightly rubs against Naruto's face. "Hinata, who is she? As you know, Swift does not like people kindly," asked Hinata's aunt. Naruto rubs the chest of Swift. Hinata tells her aunt that this is Naruto and she isn't sure if she should tell her what Naruto has gone through, but decides to not say anything as it's something I shouldn't share that easily. As the woman says, "I see. Naruto, if you come back in a couple of weeks, Swift's babies will hatch and grown." Naruto looks at her with stars in her eyes. Tifa, "That's good to hear," said. Hinata's aunt giggles at Naruto's reaction. With that, Naruto and Tifa got asked by Hinata if they would stay for dinner. Naruto blinks. Through her eyes, Hinata and Tifa can tell that she needs to tell her guardians. Hinata says, "I will go on tell them for you, Naruto." Naruto nods and is enjoying her time with Swift. Sometime later, dinner time. Hinata and Tifa are enjoying time with Hitomi and Hikari, who is Hinata's aunt, while Naruto is eating quietly. Then Hinata's father, Hiyashi, walks in and sees Tifa and Naruto. "Hello, Tifa, it is good to see you. And this must be Naruto," said Hiyashi. Naruto looks up at Hiyashi while having noodles in her mouth. Hiyashi chuckles and says, "Any friend of Hinata is always welcomed." As he sits down, Naruko eats the noodles then swallows them. It then does her deadpan face. Hiyashi knows the look in her eyes and knows she is traumatized. But he knows not to ask about it, as he's sure it's something that would bring a lot of bad memories. Hiyashi starts to eat and asks Hinata, "So Hinata, why did you bring your friends over?" Hinata explains Naruko's liking for birds as well because of her book. Hiyashi says, "I see. Dinner was doing great until someone walks in and Hinata sighs. It is her cousin Neji as the Hyuga girl is thinking, Lady Goddess help us." Neji as he wears his Junin outfit looks at Naruko and Tifa glaring, "What are these two doing here? And who's this blonde one? Fate won't allow this." Neji marches over then is face to face with a cannon and Naruko is pointing at him as Hiyashi says, "If you going fight him, take it outside. I don't want the food to be part of the curatorial damage." Naruko nods to that, and Hinata says, "To Sama." As she turns to him. "That might not be a good idea as Neji will get his kicked hard," said Hinata as behind her Naruko is making Neji move with her arm cannon at his face. Hiyashi looks and sees he will get his kicked hard as Hiyashi says to Hinata, "Hinata my dear daughter, this needs to happen," as their loud banging as well screams of terror. You know how much of an he is with him on and on about fate this, fate that. Other loud bang with Tifa going check it out, me personally, I'm very much on the edge from kicking his myself. Hiyashi nods as he hears screams of pain. Hinata sighs as she thinks, looks like I'm going to lose a cousin tonight, as she notices that her little sister is gone. Where is Hanabi? Asked Hinata. She hears her sister, go Blondie. Teach Neji a lesson. Coming from outside. Hinata and her family sigh as that answer her question. Then she asks, do you think Sama will agree for me to marry her? Hinata is thinking, not a good idea. Sama as Naruko is not what some would call stable right now. Hiyashi said, I know, you didn't need to tell me. Hinata, every clan head except for that boy, knows that Naruko has gone something not many would ever recover from. Giving the fact she isn't talking shows she's afraid to talk and speak only she needs to. Hinata blink as he is right about Naruko and Hiyashi says, and besides if anything I don't think it had an idea to have Naruko as a daughter-in-law but rather be Hanabi. Hinata blushes and says, Sama. And Hiyashi with his wife and his sister-in-law laughs. At the training ground of the Hyuga, Neji is on the ground as he's in a lock with Naruko doing it on his arm. Neji is trying to get free but he can't and he looks like shit a bit. Tifa says, how much do you want to bet that Naruko is going to break his arm? As Hanabi says, with money or are we talking about sweets? I don't care. Said Tifa as she checked, I have 20, you. Hanabi says, I have 15 inches. They shake hands and Tifa says, I bet she breaks it at the elbow. As both are making bets as Neji says, why are they making bets while this psycho bitch is trying to break my arm? They said, you deserve it. Then they hear. Crack. Neji screams in pain as his arm broke but where is the bigger question? Hanabi says, oh that was loud. What broke? She uses her eyes, and she sees at the elbow and the upper arm near the collarbone broke. Damn it, I lost. Said Hanabi. Hanabi hands the money over to Tifa. After that, Naruko and Tifa head home as the two leave. Hiyashi says, what a fun evening, as his sister-in-law, if you mean having my son's arm broken then yeah it's fun. Hitomi says, Hikari you know your son deserves it. Hikari sighs at that. Time skip a year later. Naruko is at the academy as she feeds her rare color falcon of silver wings, with a darkened feather, with the sliver of its wings a darker shade of silver. She was a gift from Hikari as the chick was old enough. She chooses Naruko. The Uzumaki girl was named the Falcon Cage due to the falcon's rare color feather. Naruko is smiling as she is taking care of the falcon as it rubs against Naruko's face as she loves her owner very much. Hinata and Tifa are smiling. For the past year, Tifa and Hinata's clothes have changed. Hinata is no longer wearing her jacket as she is now wearing a light lavender, sleeveless kimono-style blouse with vertical lines, tied with a dark purple obi around her waist. She wears a pair of short dark navy shorts with thigh-high stockings and has changed her regular ninja sandals to black high-heeled boots. And turns out, Hinata has quite a figure. Tifa is wearing a white tank top with a black shirt with no sleeves, but she makes it with a light brown jacket that's made for fighting with a skirt with shorts and long black stockings and red combat boots. She also has a pair of gloves with strikes hanging on the side. I have to say Naruto has changed a lot and trusts a few men, though it's only 3, said Tifa as she scratches the side of her head. Yeah, the third, Hayate and my father, said Hinata. Tifa nods to that. Naruto lets Cage fly off as class is turned quiet as the door opens and walks in. Uruka says, all right class, today is that day. Others cheer loudly, but stop as they realize it's the finals. Naruto just doesn't care as she does her signal look, which is her deadpan face. Tifa and Hinata will be happy to get away from the idiots as they're one step closer to that happening. They get the paper as the first part of the finals. Naruto answers them in 5 minutes flat. This allows Naruto to read her book, which is a new one. These are mythical birds in the world. How she wishes to meet one. That would be wonderful. After 2 hours, the first part of the exam ended. Naruto is bored right now as it was boring. As she and the others heard the next part was normally a nice and easy clone jutsu, but it was changed at the last minute. Uruka starts to talk. All right class, for this, you need to do 2 of one thing. Show a jutsu you know or a brand new one. The class groans at this, as some of them don't know anyway while some do. They go down the list of students. As most of them had done a clone jutsu, as it's one of the small lists of things they know. Then it was Hinata's turn. Hinata uses one of her family taijutsu moves. After that, it was Tifa Lockhart. She uses a move that she has been working on and she uses it on a dummy, and what happens is it gets torn into pieces. This shocked many of her classmates. Hinata and Tifa share a double high five with them saying, yay. And Tifa does the same with Naruto. Then they get to Sasuke as he does fireball jutsu as it's very large. Naruto is not impressed at all. Then it's Naruto's turn and everyone is wondering what Naruto is going to do even though she has only been here for a year. Naruto does hand signs which Uruka isn't familiar with at all. Naruto holds up her right hand as she lets out fire from her mouth, then a flaming falcon takes form. She lets it fly and it attacks the training dummy and a tower of flames appears. The class is shocked at seeing the tower of flames. Naruto holds up her hand in AV hand pose while Tifa and Hinata laugh. Sasuke is growing angrily at this. Sasuke comes up Naruto, but is stopped by Tifa as she says, "What do you think you're doing, duckass?" Tifa looks at Sasuke as she says, "What do you think you're doing, duckass? Going to show that bitch her place," shouted Sasuke. Tifa says, "Ain't you the bitch since during the whole year since Naruto joined us and you never once beat her?" Sasuke growls at Tifa while some are holding their laughs. Then Naruto puts her hand up and Cage flies in through the air and lands on Naruto's hand. Naruto smiles and gently strokes Cage's head. Tifa cracks her fists as she says, "But it seems that you had forgotten that a few months ago, I told you, if you're going to be like this, you will go through me." Naruto is relaxing, then Uruka's voice is heard, "Alright, that's enough, you will fail if you start a fight." Sasuke growls as he should be the top dog. Tifa sighs and says, "Okay sensei," as Cage gets on Tifa's shoulder and rubs against Tifa to comfort her. Tifa smiles. She goes back to her friends as Cage gets back on Naruto's. Naruto keeps smiling as Cage is a kind and gentle bird. The exam went on, as some made it, some not so much, and a few that many had thought were going to fail didn't. Naruto did pass the exam. Sakura, however, didn't pass. She can't believe this is happening. She then hears, "Say Naruto, I passed," said the voice of a girl named Ino as she wearing purple clothes as she hugging onto Naruto's arm. Naruto is just looking at Ino as Cage gets on the shoulder of the arm Ino is holding onto, while behind them, there's a dark aura on both Tifa and Hinata. Cage then starts pecking Ino. Ino says, "Ow. What did I do to deserve this?" Why won't you like me, Cage? Ain't the mouses enough for you? With tears. Cage keeps pecking. Cage likes mice, but he likes something more. And that is bacon. Naruko knows that Ino is trying her best, yet she wonders why Ino is doing this while Cage is protecting Naruko. Ino lets go with tears and a pout while Cage is sitting pretty, knowing she protected Naruko. Sakura, however, sees this and says, "The hell, Ino, what are you doing?" Ino ignores Sakura, then Cage flies over and pecks Sakura with full force, as she truly doesn't like Sakura at all. "Get this dumb bird away from my face. My beautiful face." Cage keeps pecking, then Cage calls someone or other birds, and the other birds of prey arrive as they all like Naruko. Cage and Naruko fly with them and give them good food. Sakura is covering herself as she says, "This day couldn't get any worse," as she runs off crying. Then something falls on her head and she screams in horror as birds poop on her. Sakura screams as Naruko and Cage's bird friends head out into the sky. Around noon, as the exams are over, Naruko, along with Hinata and Tifa, walking happily as they got their headbands. Tifa has her wrapped on her belt. Naruko is leading them to her house and she opens the door and Cage flies over to Hayate and Yugao, who are sitting and relaxing. They see Cage and smile, with Hayate patting Cage. Yugao sees Naruko and friends. "How did it go?" They show their headbands and then Naruko signs with Hinata and Tifa, informing them of what happened to Sakura, who was being a bitch as well as a crybaby because she didn't pass. Well, getting peeked and pooped on. Yugao and Hayate laugh loudly. "With that, is it alright if we go somewhere to celebrate?" asks Hinata. Yugao says, "Well, I don't see why not, but just make sure to bring Naruko back home before 12. Hinata and Tifa nod, and Naruko is also thinking she needs a haircut now, as she sees her hair is pretty long now. So the three head to Jean's place first. And over the year, Naruko has gotten less crazy and more comfortable with Jean, which is good, as Jean is fixing up Naruko's hair. While Hinata and Tifa wait, as they do not need to stop Naruko. Jean also has a bird perch for Cage, as she knows how much Naruko loves Cage. Jean is humming while cutting Naruko's hair, remembering how far Naruko has come from the first time she was here. After a while, Naruko has her signature hairstyle back, and with that, all three went somewhere to celebrate becoming genins. Naruko is enjoying her time with her friends, but then a group of guys comes up to them. They are "Jonin, girls, we have a problem and maybe you can help," said the leader, who is being frantic. "How can we help?" said Tifa with Hinata as they turn to Naruko, but they see the silhouette as well, see a bird talking to Cage, like explaining something. Both Naruko shout, as somewhere above Konoha is a flying Naruko who has her deadpan look with a piece of food in her mouth. Then she sees someone jumping away from the village with something important. Naruko then follows along with Cage, catching up to Naruko. Sees this, Cage decides to get back and get the attention of everyone and points to where Naruko is flying to, and they follow as they think she found something. "Good work, Cage," said Hinata as she brought up a piece of bacon for Cage. Cage takes it and eats while leading them to where Naruko is heading. Later, somewhere in the forest, is it far away from the village. A man wearing the Chunin outfit, as he is Mizuki, as he lands there, catching his breath. "Almost there, and once I do, I will join up with Lord O." He hears the flapping of wings behind him. He turns to see Naruko with her arms crossed, as she is waiting to see if Mizuki going to do something, as she isn't sure if he's the thief or not, but she got her answer when she sees the massive Fuma wing shuriken coming at her, but she catches it with her right arm by the blade part. "Of all the people to found me, the mute bitch has to be the one," said the angry Mizuki. Naruko growls and her arms start to spark a bit. "But no matter what, because with the power of this forbidden scroll, I can do anything I want. Even you and that luscious body of yours," said Mizuki as he stared at Naruko's body. Naruko then kicks a stone at Mizuki and it hits him in the face, with him saying, "Fuck. You damn fuck." He soon meets with a left hook punch in his stomach, followed by a palm strike with her right arm, as she hits under Mizuki's chin. Then he feels her kick him hard, as to how she does a spin with her left foot and using her right leg to hit against Mizuki's side. Mizuki is trying to fight back, which he did by throwing his second shuriken, but Naruko easily moves out of the way but catches it by placing her arm in the hole of the gained shuriken as it spins on her arm. Mizuki growls loudly while Naruko blows a raspberry noise at him. Mizuki charges in screaming like a madman. Naruko tosses the shuriken into the air as she runs toward him and leads to having her legs on Mizuki's shoulder, which she uses to jump higher. Cue theme song Still Alive by Lisa Moskovsky. Naruko's wings show themselves after chakra gathers on her shoulders. Naruko takes to the air with Mizuki has his hand in his pooch while Naruko holds up her left hand as wind chakra gathers on the palm as it takes the form of something. Naruko sees a barrage of kunais coming at her, by using her wings to dodge them while trying to keep focus forming the jutsu in hand. Then it turns into a falcon. Once it's ready, Naruko lets it fly as this jutsu's name is Wind-style Falcon Storm, and the extremely strong gust of wind like a storm appeared as the chakra falcon flapped its wing as it summoned this wind. Mizuki is getting hit by the wind with his hair blowing away, but then a cut forms on his cheek. Mizuki realizes this cut is from the attack. Then more cuts appear as the chakra falcon flies toward him and the wind is getting stronger for Mizuki as he feels it as more and more cuts form not only on his skin. Also, his clothes. He is losing clothes even faster as the cuts are cutting deeper. While far away, the Jonins along with Hinata and Tifa are watching the trees being shaken violently as well as feeling strong winds blowing. That is Naruko's jutsu, says Hinata as all of them are having it harder to jump through the wind. They land and get behind trees. Tifa says, Naruko has been dying to use it, with Hinata nodding. The Jonin are just following them as their friend is dealing with it and they don't know that Hayate and Yugao are following them. Back with Naruko. Naruko sees that her justice has ended and Mizuki is all cut and bleeding and somehow standing. Mizuki says as he's conscious, fuck you, you bitch, but he can't move a muscle. Naruko comes down and walks over to him. She holds up her right hand and lets a massive amount of volts through it and then grabs him below the belt and soon enough. Song ends. From far away. They are going about their business then. RRRRRGH. After a few minutes, Naruko sees Mizuki fall as soon enough Tifa and Hinata are the first to arrive with the Jonins following them and they see Mizuki on the ground with his legs crossed and his hands have blood on them. The hell happened to him? Said one Junins. Naruko's arm is still giving off an electric current. All three blink as they think. Thank Kami there's only one of her. Then they hear two more people landing and they see Yugao and Hayate. Tifa and Hinata are thinking as they look at Mizuki, Naruko you are scary when angry, Naruko with her deadpan face on as she waves to Yugao and Hayate. They come over to Naruko. So I guess you found the thief traitor, said Yugao with Hayate coughing a bit. Naruko nods as her right hand is still sparking. Growling. As it comes from Naruko's stomach she is still hungry. Naruko blushes and keeps her deadpan look. Hinata says, well looks like we going back to what we were doing, see you guys later, as all three leave, leaving the three Jonin along with Yugao and Hayate to deal with Mizuki. Later in the night, Naruko's room. Naruko is laying on her back, but not sleeping as she doesn't like this, being by herself as there's not much in her room. As she is wearing her sleeping clothes. Naruko is just staring at the ceiling. Naruko can feel her eyes getting heavy until she falls asleep and however, she doesn't dream. No, she remembers their days. When she was little, Naruko's dream, memory. A 7-year Naruko is being made for someone older and bigger than her. Little Naruko says, why am I doing this? As a man says, because Valkyrie, you need to be strong, for the good of the Sylvan organization, as the large person grabs Naruko by the neck and Naruko is met with a fist followed by darkness. Naruko is in her room, as she curls herself into a ball as she cries and in pain due to her training. She hates this. She just wants to go home as she hears the door open then, it's time for the testing Valkyrie, with Naruko getting to the corner as she says, No. You can't make it there. As the same man from before comes up to her and he forces her to come along while Naruto is trying to break free from his gasps but fails. Naruto is strapped to a table as several people in white have needles and other things with the first one about to inject something in Naruto while Naruto shouts, "No, stop it, please stop." As the needle is about to touch Naruto's skin. Memory over. Naruto shoots up in sweat while panting hard as she looks around wildly. Along with her arm changing into a clawed hand, it takes a few moments for Naruto to realize that she isn't there anymore, which is why she lets out sobbing. The door opens and Yugao comes in to check on the blonde hair. "Oh Naruto," said Yugao as she walks over to her and hugs to comfort her. "It happened again, didn't it?" said Yugao. Naruto nods, hugging Yugao back as she is sobbing more. Even though she is free from that place, she will be haunted by the memories there. Yugao is hoping those fuckers are burning in hell as she comforts Naruto. The next day, Naruto looks like hell. Luckily for her, team assigning doesn't happen until a week later. So she's going to stay home. Kage is worried about Naruto. And right now, Naruto is by herself as both Yugao and Hayate are out. Naruto is wondering what she should eat as she is feeling hungry. Naruto sighs and gets up. She goes over to the kitchen and checks the fridge, but there's a knock on the door. Naruto goes over and checks in the peephole of who it is. And Naruto sees that it's Tifa. So she opens up. Tifa smiles and waves, "Hi Naruto," then drops the smile as she notices Naruto looks like shit. Tifa asks, "Are you okay Naruto?" Naruto shakes her head no and goes back to the kitchen. Tifa follows after closing the door. Tifa enters the kitchen and sees Naruto making herself something. Tifa is worried about Naruto as she sees Naruto putting whipped cream on a sandwich. Tifa is confused about this, but she stops Naruto from eating it. Naruto looks at Tifa and her face asks, "Why?" Tifa says, "'Cause why not, I make you something." "Sure, I'm not as great as Hinata." She gets Naruto to sit. Naruto just sits while Tifa makes something. Which is something simple. Tifa then puts it in front of Naruto as she sees a burger with cheese and bacon and some bacon for Kage. Naruto starts eating it while Tifa says, "There, that better." Then, "What it is what you made," as Naruto and Kage are eating. Tifa is also eating a burger that she made for herself. After eating, Naruto is looking out the window with Tifa giving Kage a light scratch on the chest. Kage is enjoying it. Tifa is thinking, "Okay, Tifa, you alone with the girl that you've been feeling for a while now, how hard can it be to tell her how you feel?" She turns her eyes toward Naruto. The light of the sun is making Naruto look more stunning and beautiful than normal. Tifa loses the ability to speak as she blushing badly as she looks away and thinking, "Oh, why must she be like this?" Naruto is confused about Tifa right now, then forgets about it as she goes back looking outside. Tifa is panting and steaming. Sometime later, only Hayate returns home as he sees Tifa. "Oh Tifa," he coughs a bit. Tifa sighs, "Hi Hayate." Naruto is napping on Tifa's lap while Tifa is blushing. "Hayate, it's good to see that Naruto is getting some sleep." Tifa looks at Hayate with confusion. "What do you mean?" Tifa asks. Hayate drinks some water. Normal when she is there, nights. She doesn't like sleeping alone at night, and when she does, she doesn't go to sleep at all. Tifa's eyes widened at that as she didn't know. I guess that would explain why there will be times Naruto doesn't come. Hayate nods. Yeah, Yugao will go in and calm her down at times at night. I know some guys would be jealous, but I know Yugao well. She is helping Naruto above all. That is one reason I love Yugao. She will help her friends. As he coughs a bit as Tifa nods to that. Meanwhile with Yugao, Yugao is standing in front of the Hokage as she finishes her duty for the day as Anbu. The third Hokage nod after hearing her report. That's good Yugao, Yugao bows. The third says, Yugao, there's a couple of things I wanted to talk to you about. Yugao is in attention. First off, starting tomorrow, you will begin your last week as Anbu. Yugao nods in understanding as she wonders why. As you are taking the role of Team 7's sensei, which are Naruto, Tifa, and Hinata, Yugao says, I understand, and it's either you and Naruto move into another place or Tifa and Hinata move in with you. Yugao is caught off guard on that. Oh, why may I ask? Asked Yugao as she couldn't do this part at all. Oh well, it's not just you, Yugao, it's also other teams. I would like to know why. Yugao asked again. The third Hokage explains that living together will be part of team bonding both outside and inside of training and missions. Yugao nods and says, plus keeping a closer eye on the Uchiha on a personal note, I bet. The third nods to that assignment that Yugao got it so quickly. That's right, Yugao, the boy is, you know, said the third. Unstable, yeah, I have noticed, said Yugao as she gets headaches for every time she would find Sasuke looking for Naruto so that he could challenge and finally beat her. But it seems he always got his kicked. With that, the third tells Yugao to do her remaining duties for the week until next week. Yugao salutes the third, understanding her job. Couple days later, Naruto is by herself along with Kage as both are at the village park. Naruto is feeding the birds, smiling with people walking by as she sits on one of the tall trees. Some of the people are smiling seeing Naruto as she is a regular at the park. Then she notices something that seems that's off, which is nearby, as she sees a pattern of a fence that doesn't match with the rest of it. So she goes to check it out. Before she could get closer, she stops and hears, "Honorable grandson." As she sees a man with a bandana with sunglasses and a blue jumpsuit as he runs around. Naruto deadpans as she knows a kiss up when she sees one, but she leaves him to be as she sees the man leaves, as she goes back looking at the fence, and realizes it's just a cameo to match the fence but being held the wrong way. So she pokes it with her left, which causes someone to yelp, which he drops the cameo, and soon enough, Naruto feels something against her. Naruto looks down, and sees a kid who is about 12 years old, while the kid is thinking, wait, where am I? Then the idiot finds a blade at his neck as he is being pushed away. The kid blushes seeing how beautiful Naruto is and sees Naruto's J-cup. Then he feels the blade at his neck, which is why he has tears while thinking, oh no. She's one of those crazy girls, isn't she? Then they hear, "Honorable grandson. Release him at once," said the man from before. Naruto not saying anything. Then the man realize, wait, ain't you that girl under Yugao's care? Then Kage swoops down and hits the man, then starts pecking him, and he starts panicking as he screams in a high-pitched scream as Naruto looks at the scared kid with her deadpan look on her. He gulps. Then someone grabs Naruto's shoulder and Naruto turns to see Hayate, who just shakes his head, and Naruto's blade turns back to normal. Then heads to the tree again but whistles and Kage stop pecking the idiot and flies to Naruto. Naruto then has her fingers her eyes to point them at the kid as if saying, I got my eyes on you. The kid shivers scared of her with tears. Hayate asks, okay, what happened, kid? The kid's as Naruto is in her little world as she wonders what she should eat for lunch. Hayate hears the story and nods. Yeah, Naruto is not the one to do that to at all. As he coughs a little, then he notices that Naruto is gone. The kid shiver in understanding at that as he does not want that blade at his neck again. With Naruto. Naruto is walking on the road with fewer people. With Kage on her shoulder, but she stops as she notices the presence of her least favorite person of all time, well, second more insignificant, as she sees Sakura. Naruto does not want to deal with the bitch at all, but she knows that Sakura didn't pass, so there's a chance that Sakura is going to be extra bitchy. Naruto heads into the ramen stand by taking another route, but she couldn't get away as she hears, "You mute bitch." Naruto sighs as she turns to see Sakura coming up to her. Kage flies off but stays nearby. Sakura is marching up to Naruto. Naruto stands there as Sakura says to her, "You bitch, I should have passed while you failed." Naruto does deadpan and tries to walk away. But Sakura won't let her. Naruto is getting annoyed as Sakura says, "You will give me your headband as it was meant for me and you will go die in a ditch." Naruto rolls her eyes, then she gets an idea. as she brings out a special scroll and opens it and shows what Naruto is thinking to Sakura, and it speaks for her. Oh, I'm sorry that I train more, smarter than you, have a figure while you do nothing but bitch and moan along with dieting, so no, you're not getting my headband, I earned it, you didn't. Get over it, crybaby, said the scroll as Naruto put it away and walks off. Sakura is fuming in anger. A bit later, Naruto is enjoying her ramen. Then she hears, "So there you are," said the voice of Hinata, and Naruto turns to see her friends as Naruto waves to them with her mouth full of noodles. She eats then swallows. Hinata sits by Naruto's left with Tifa next to Hinata as Tifa says, "So what happened?" We heard then saw Sakura stomping around grumbling about a mute bitch, taking what rightfully belongs to her. Naruto shrugs as she eats. Tifa and Hinata know that she confronted Naruto to reclaim what was rightfully hers. Hinata says, "Well, changing topic, are you up for training?" Naruto shrugs. Then she thinks about it and then decides to go along with it. After Naruto is done, she pays for her meals and all three go to train. Time skip. Team assignment day. As everyone is waiting, which it's been a while now, and right, almost everyone is watching Naruto doing a handstand with one arm as she does it on a desk, as one of them says, "This must be Naruto's personal best yet." Hinata and Tifa sigh at this as they think how far Naruto has gotten since a year ago. Someone keeps recording the time as Naruto keeps it up. Then Iruka comes in. Before he talks, he sees what's going on, and somewhere within him, he shouldn't do this but he has to. "All right, enough," said Iruka as Naruto slowly placed her feet down. Naruto then sits down in between Hinata and Tifa, as well as everyone else. With that done, Iruka says, "All right." He holds up the list and everyone notices something that Iruka is holding. Iruka starts telling everyone their teams and sensei from 1 to 6. Then, for Team 7, it will be Naruto Uzumaki, Hinata Hyuga, and Tifa Lockhart. Sasuke growls as he should be with Naruto so he can show her where she belongs, as both Hinata and Tifa cheer as they hug Naruto. Naruto has a small smile. Iruka tells the rest, then he goes on to the next part. He shows everyone a set of keys, as all you don't know, the Hokage decides to set up a test program for this group of teams, said Iruka. The students are confused, while both Hinata and Tifa are thinking, what has the third thought of? As they think about what their life will be like, as there were times that Tifa and Hinata have caught Naruto little to no clothes at times. Naruto just shows nothing as she wonders who their sensei is. The door opens and Yugao in her Junin outfit walks in and says, "Team 7, you're with me." Naruto gets up as she comes up to Yugao. Yugao smiles as Naruto walks out and some guys are complaining, in which they let out the words of the curviest, hottest, bustiest girls are pairing up. And when they realize what they said, they turn to the other girls and they all have dark auras around them with their eyes glowing red. Tifa, Hinata, and Naruto don't seem to care about what's going on behind them. Yugao just shakes her head. She lets them out first, then follows her team. Later, somewhere in the village, Yugao is leading them somewhere. Tifa asks, "So where are we heading?" Yugao says, "You'll see." Hinata looking up at Naruto, who has taken to the sky. Naruto is enjoying flying with Cage flying along. Tifa sighs seeing Naruto feeling free in the air as she says, "She just loves to fly, doesn't she?" With Hinata nodding to that, Naruto starts doing tricks. Yugao light yells, "We're almost there, Naruto. You should come down." Naruto, at that Naruto slowly descends as she does a pose after she lands, which is one of the things she likes to do. Yugao chuckles. After a few minutes, the team had arrived at a house with Yugao standing in front as she said, "Welcome to Team 7's house." They see that there were some birdhouses around the house. This house was owned by a bird lover before he moved away. But the Hokage asked if he could leave the birdhouses and some other things. He agreed. Naruto has starred in her eyes. Hinata raises her hand. "I have a question." As Naruto is slowly moving toward the house with Yugao says, "What is it, Hinata? Do our families know?" Hinata asks. Yugao says, Yes, your families were told, and the reason why we were doing this. Well, there's many reasons. For one, it's Naruto. She has her hand at Naruto, who pretty much has her wings out again and flies up on the roof. Naruto is very happy with what they are seeing. Tifa says, well, I guess I go get my things. Hinata nods to that as she needs to do the same. Naruto is checking the house all over and even sees goose cutouts that hunters use with a note. Just in case you want to watch the geese as I hunted deer, never birds. For birds I hunted with a camera for them. It was from the former owner. Naruto takes it and puts it away as she will show it to Yugao later. Naruto is excited to check out the whole house. Sometime later, Naruto sitting by herself with Kage as everyone went to get their things to move in. Naruto is looking out and is smiling. As she by herself, she says something to Kage in her low-tone rusty voice, do you like it here, Kage? Kage nods as Naruto smiles as she gives scratches on her black feathered falcon's chest. Then Naruto hears something. Naruto gains claws on her right arm as she gets ready for a fight. As she slowly moves, she sees a blank mask Anbu, so Naruto knows this isn't a normal Anbu, as she knows there's no way they would wear a blank mask. So, she hid in the shadows. The person is looking for someone, seeing that they couldn't the person, and they move over to the next room without knowing that Naruto is in the shadows. Naruto then grabs him and stabs him with the claws as it through the heart. The man coughs up blood and Naruto drags him to a window and throws him out of it. Naruto goes to wash off the blood as Yago first arrives back with Hayate. They blink and see the dead body and Yugao says, root. Hayate heads in to see if Naruto is safe. They only found Naruto washing off the blood. Yugao nods and heads to take the body to the Hokage with Hayate staying just in case. Naruto then finds a room that looks like a porch and Naruto can see the backyard and birds are in the yard, so she sits and watches. Hayate walks in with Naruto's things, which theirs isn't much. Hayate smiles as Naruto loves watching the birds as he places a couple of things which are photos, some are of Kage and other birds, and finally, 3 photos, one of Naruto holding a young Kage and the other are Naruto with Hinata and Tifa. The last is Hayate, Yugao, and Naruto at their first dinner together. Then soon enough, Hinata and Tifa return. They see blood on the ground. What happened? Hayate says, oh, Kage found a mouse and killed it. The look and see that is more blood than a mouse had, more than one if you are wondering, said Hayate as he coughs a bit. They sigh but they don't believe him anyway. For now, they will let it go but won't drop it. Hinata decides to set up her new room and the same goes for Tifa. While Naruto is watching the birds. The next day, Naruto is feeding Kage as she, Hinata, and Tifa are at one of the training grounds with Yagyo. Okay, the first thing is first, I'm going to put your teamwork to the test. They get ready. When it began, soon enough all 3 were beaten. They were able to land a couple of hits. But not enough to beat Yagyo, though with Naruto she was not allowed to use her right arm. Yagyo says, not bad, a few rough patches but not bad. Naruto is sitting with her team as all 3 are beat up. As Tifa says, that sucked. Yagyo says, you girls have a long way to go. Yeah, but you had a handicap. Naruto was not allowed to use her right arm. Said Hinata and Yugao say, I know what that arm of hers can do and it is dangerous in a spar. She also must learn not to rely on it. As this was happening with Yugao putting them into training to the bone, as at the meantime, a certain report had reached the hands of the fire daimyo. The daimyo is in his office reading a report from the Hokage and he read something which is about the founding of the missing Uzumaki girl who was kidnapped at the age of 3, as she was held captivated and was forced to be something for this unknown group. Even going as far as cutting off the arm and replacing it with unseen levels of tech. The fire daimyo is not happy at all and he grabs some paper and begins to write as he thinks who those people in this unknown group are. After that letter, he writes another and sends them both out. Back with Team 7, Tifa and Hinata are tired, even Naruto as she is on her knees as Yagyo looks at Naruto as she thinks, so that's why those people place that arm on her. In truth, Naruto hates the arm as it clears that she knows about the arm. But Naruto hides it as Yago says, all right, that's a good warm-up. All three look at her with Tifa saying, that was a warm-up. Naruto and Hinata drop their heads at that as Tifa says, this is hell. Training from hell. As Yago, oh calm down, this is what I do back in the Anbus. Upon further inspection maybe this is too much for you guys or you all are still genins. Naruto shouts out, you think? With both nodding to that since this means something if Naruto had to say something, and Yago says, take a break, as she sweats drops. Naruto heads into a tree shade to catch her breath. Kage lands on Naruto's shoulder as she rests along with Naruto with Tifa and Hinata joining. Leaving Yago to herself to rethink her training plans. Naruto sighs and looks at her arm as she has at the sun. She sighs at it, then she notices something that wasn't there before. She sees a line of red to the palm and to somewhere, so she has her left hand to move along with the line, move her sleeve upward as she sees the red line to black lines which made into a square as its location on side of her arm. She never notices this, so she touches it and she hears, click, then a screen appears on it. Naruto turns her arm more to get a better look at it as she sees that it has settings and it's set at the highest level which drains more of Naruto's energy and chakra. Naruto smiles as she changes it to a lower setting. However, that would mean she can't use any of the weapons at this level. Which she doesn't mind at all. As Yugao says she wants her to not rely on the arm. Naruto then feels more energized. Naruto smirks and gets up surprising Tifa and Hinata as Naruto walks up to Yugao and taps her shoulder surprising her. Yugao, Naruto. Naruto shows Yugao the power settings of her arm which surprised Yugao. Wait, all this time you can do this? Naruto pulls out her talking scroll and it says, I just found out about it. Then Naruto's hand sparks and Yugao says, okay, so it seems you can still use the taser and I am not surprised they don't need that much power. Then she asks, but what about your wings? Naruto's eyes widen as she checks by summoning her wings which they do as always. Naruto sighs of relief at this. Yugao. Maybe they're separate one for them. Naruto nods and Kage lands on her shoulder. A month later. At the mission hall. Team 7 is getting their first mission. Well, missions as their tons of D ranks. Naruto is happy as she knows she can change the power level of her arm. For now, Team 7 is assigned with walking dogs, found a certain cat, and more. Naruto does not like the cat at all as many cats had tried to hunt her companion Kage. Hinata says, can we not do the cat mission, Lord Hokage? The third blinks then remember about Naruto's falcon friend. Very well. He tosses the mission scroll as he says, never liked that cat anyway. Many think in their head, who does? As he picks out a different mission for Team 7 to take on. They see that the Inazaka clan is going to have the dogs walk. The dogs are overpowering the person who holds the leash and the person is Kiba. Kiba is yelling, help, as they drag him around. Until they're stopped by Naruto who gives them a look that calms them down and sits without Naruto saying anything. Kiba is asking, how is a mute bitch able to do that? As he has tried for years as his face is red from being a drag. Hinata says, two things, one she has her ways and two don't call her that. Kage is looking at Kiba like he wants to peck the fucker. Naruto doesn't seem to care what Kiba had called her. Naruto walks up and grabs a leash as it belongs to the biggest one. Naruto then starts walking the dog as it is behaving with her. Hinata and Tifa get their own. Kiba is pounding the ground with his fists as Naruto is better with dogs than he is. Yugao is thinking, is there anything she can't do? Naruto keeps walking the dog. Couple hours later, after walking the dogs, Team 7 helps out a few elderly with some of the elderly men staring at Naruto as he says, you look almost like at him. He slowly points toward the Hokage mount as he pointed to the fourth one. Naruto shrugs at that as she doesn't see it. As she helps out the elderly man, Naruto lifts some stuff with Hinata and Tifa doing the same. After that, as they make their way back but stop as they see Team 9 lead by a man named Kakashi as they are chasing after a cat. Then they hear a scream and it was Sasuke who got slashed in the balls. Naruto holds up a note as it says, "That's many reasons why I don't like cats." Yugao says, "That in that cat-hunted cage." Cage is in attack mode as she ready for any that would come at her. Naruto nods as they resume heading to the tower. Upon arriving, "We don't have any more missions for you," said Iruka as he looked through the leaves of Naruto, then turned around and walked out and let out her wings and started to fly. But there is a C-rank mission. Naruto comes back as she just wanted to get away from that damn cat as everyone sees the Hokage walk in with a man who seems to be in his late 50s. Cage flies and takes his sake bottle. Naruto has a deadpan look on while Tifa covers her nose. "He smells like sake," said Tifa. The man is trying to get his sake bottle from Cage as he says, "Give that back, you damn bird." As Cage is still flying, Naruto holds out her arm and Cage lands and she takes the bottle from Cage and tosses it to Yugao who catches it. With the Hokage, this is Tazuna, a bridge builder, and he requests an escort back to his village. Naruto holds her nose and her scroll says, "He smells like he just came from a brewery." Tazuna says, "I don't smell that bad. And why are you giving me a group of girls anyway?" Before he could add, Naruto's eye twitched, then she puts up a level of her arm a bit and it turns into a blade and it is at his throat with Tazuna's turn white in fear as he says, "And never mind." Naruto pulls back and her arm changes back, then she lowers the level with Naruto moving back to her teammates. Yugao just shakes her head as Naruto still does not trust men. Hinata pats Naruto's head as she says, "That will do, Naruto." Cage lands on Naruto's shoulder. Yugao steps up and says, "I'm Yugao and this is my team. Pleased to meet you, Tazuna." With Tazuna says, "L likewise." Yugao says, "Let's go and get ready for the mission." With that, Team 7 went home to get what they needed as Yugao stayed with Tazuna so that she could get anything else from him. Naruto took to the sky and did at the right time as Tora jumped at her as Tora's target was Cage. While everyone inside heard hissing and yelling from a cat, followed by a low-key meowing. Naruto then walks into the office again and plops Tora on the desk, and no one could tell if Tora is alive or not by how messed up the cat looks. Naruto holds up the scroll as it speaks for her, "Bad cat," and walks away. Naruto then takes to the sky again after leaving the building. The third goes over to the cat and places his hand on it. After a few yes. Tora has died. People faint at that as Tora is the fire daimyo's wife's cat. Then they start running around like headless chickens. Later in the day, Team 7, Naruto, Hinata and Tifa, arrived at the gate after being informed by the Hokage. As they see their sensei with Tazuna and Yugao is sweating for some reason. The team is confused as they come up to them and Yugao says, "Good, you girls are here. Now let's go," as she gets behind them and starts pushing them as they don't understand. Tifa asks, "Sensei, what is going on?" As she is being pushed with Hinata confused as well and Naruto having her usual deadpan look on her. Yugao is debating if she should tell them. Sometime later, they are away from Konoha and they hear something from Konoha. Yugao sighs as she sweats while her team is looking at her. "Tora-chan," Hinata says, "Isn't that the cat's name?" Tifa asks, "Did something?" Yugao keeps pushing them as Naruto still deadpanning while Tazuna is behind them as he thinking, "I won't know, I'm going to die them or this team." Naruto is laughing in her head. While Cage is flying in the air. Yugao sighs as they are away from the village. A day later. "Sensei, what happened?" asked Tifa as she and Hinata haven't dropped it while Naruto pretty much has. Yugao sighs while Tazuna is walking ahead of the others. Naruto sees a puddle and just looks at it. Naruto then jumps up and she sneaks up on the puddle and throws a bomb and then it goes off and they hear screams and coughing. The bomb was a stink bomb. As everyone sees a pair of guys as they're coughing badly with their clawed gauntlets on the ground as one of them says, "Who the fuck throws a stink bomb in a fucking puddle?" Then they both see Naruto kneeling near them as she holds up her arm and places it on them and next thing they know, they get shocked and they scream louder by Naruto with a deadpan face on her as always. Tizuna's glasses turn white by the lightning as he says, "She's ruthless, that blonde hair girl." "Oh, that is nothing at all," says Yugao as Hinata says, "Don't shock them too much, Naruto. We need to ask them questions. They are out cold when Naruto is done, as both of them are steaming and burnt." With Tifa says, "Good job, Naruto." Naruto nods and lets the idiots go who fainted. As she comes up to Tizuna as she brings up her scroll, as it says for her, "You know, for AC rank mission, we are surely encountering ninjas." "So why is that?" Yugao says, "Yes, normally, for C's there would be bandits, no-name samurais, and thieves." Tizuna breaks down and gets on his knees as he cannot hide it and starts to explain about Gato and how they save what they could and can only get a C. Naruto is next to him as she pats him. The team is shocked by the news of this. With that, Team 7 has a meeting of what they should do. Should they head back or carry on? Naruto throws out the idea of some backup, but Yugao explains that they don't know who would be available or not. But they're still thinking over it. Naruto thinks as they have Cage and it would be a good idea. Yugao says, "But before we even do that, what do you girls say?" Hinata and Tifa nod in agreement to carry on the mission, as calling for backup would be a good idea. With that, the mission is still on as Naruto calls Cage. Cage lands and Naruto gets handed a note by Yugao, as it is for the Kokage's eyes only. Naruto ties it to Cage's leg and Cage knows what to do as she flies off and heads toward Konoha. About 35 minutes later, the group resumed walking and took a boat ride. Naruto is in the middle of the seating with Tifa at the front with Yugao and Tizuna. Hinata is at the back of the boat because of her eyes. Naruto wants to fly, but thanks to the fog she can't. So she hates this so much. Yugao understands that Naruto is not happy. Hinata says, "Don't worry, Naruto. Once this fog fades, you get to bring out your wings," with Tizuna saying, "Wings?" They say, "You will see." But the man, "Keep it down, do you want us to get spotted?" As Yugao says, "He's right, everyone but Naruto, quiet it down." Naruto is just sitting there bored. As the boat moving along the water as they're passing by a massive bridge as it seems to be uncompleted. Naruto is surprised about the bridge with sparkies in her eyes. Soon, the group arrived at the lands of the wave as they thanked the boatman for the ride and resumed their walk. Yet there notice the mist is getting thicker, thus harder to see. Naruto wants to remove this mist as Hinata who's using her eyes and to no avail as she says, "There's something wrong here, this is not normal." Naruto then hears something, and she isn't sure what it is, but one thing is for sure. It can't be an animal as she can tell this place won't have much larger animals like a bear. Yago says, "Everyone, get into formation now," as she realizes what's going on. Naruto does not move as she reaches out and grabs something with her right arm, and what she found is a white fur rabbit. And it's half scared to death. Tifa says, "A rabbit?" Hinata says, "That can't be right, it's spring, there shouldn't be any white furs unless it's an albino, other than that, it should be brown." Yagwo, more to form up and guard Tizuna. "Now girls, order." Naruto tosses the ribbit to Hinata as she dashes over to Yugao as something from the shadows heads towards Yugao. Naruto uses her right arm to change what it is as it turns out to be a massive sword as Naruto is holding it by the blade of the massive sword. Yugao looks at it and knows what it is. "Wait, that's. Show yourself, swordsman of the mist." A laugh is heard by everyone. "Well, I never thought my blade would be caught by anyone so young," said a voice that echoes. Naruto tosses the blade and catches the handle and throws it to where the voice came from, and they hear a slash and a tree falling. While Naruto looks at her arms as it twitches a bit but quickly goes back to normal. Then everyone sees a man wearing no shirt and gray skin with bandages wrapping on his mouth, showing only his eyes with a headband with the mark of the mist on it. He blinks in surprise from seeing that happen. "That's one hell of an arm if you were able to toss Kubikiribocho," said the man. Yugao says, "That's none of your business how she can do it." Zabuza Momochi, demon of the mist. Naruto just stares blankly at Zabuza. Zabuza blinks and says, "It doesn't matter. Cause hand over the old man and all of you will walk out of here with your lives. Naruto is gone, then something is soaring at Zabuza, and it was the tree that was cut down. Zabuza. What? As it hits him, sending him flying as everyone sees that 3 or 4 Narukos throw the tree at Zabuza. Yugao says, girls use this chance to get away with Tazuna now. You ain't ready facing someone like him. Tifa and Hinata wanted to complain, but Naruto's clones lift them and Tazuna and run away. What the? Naruto, what are you doing? We need to help Sensei. Shouts Tifa. Naruto just keeps running with the clones, and what they don't know is she grabbed the sword when she and her clones threw the tree while Hinata is still holding the rabbit and Tazuna is being carried by one of the clones and he's passed out as he's not used to this speed. 30 minutes later, Naruto thinks they are far enough away, while the clones let down Hinata and Tifa, while the last one is fanning Tazuna as the old man is passed out. And Tifa comes up to Naruto and says, what were you thinking, Naruto? We need to help Sensei. Naruto holds up her scroll as it says for her, Yugao Sensei is a former Anbu, I'm sure she can handle that guy on her own, and also what's a swordsman of mist? Tifa faces faults as she can't with Naruto sometimes, as Hinata asks, so what are we going to do with this rabbit? Naruto gently grabs it and lets it go as it hops back into the forest, but only to come back to them. All 3 are getting the idea that this rabbit might not know how to live in the forest wild. Naruto picks up the rabbit and hands the rabbit to Tifa as Naruto has a hawk and hawks eat rabbits. Tifa says, sorry, I'm not much of a bunny person, maybe Hinata. Naruto then sighs about Hinata's aunt and Swift, her falcon, who eats rabbits as well. Tifa, oh right, said as she forgot about that. So they figure that for now they just take it with them while the clone is still fanning the passed out Tazuna. 10 minutes later, Yugao finds them as she looks somewhat beaten with cuts and bruises. Sensei, said both girls as Yugao, as I thought, he's a monster alright, said as they saw that Yugao's left arm wasn't moving. That is until she slams herself onto the tree, and both Hinata and Tifa are shocked by this as her left arm is moving again as she says, it seems that Zabuza had lost his prized sword, or should I say stolen. She turns to Naruto as another one of Naruto's clone have come out of the tree as she carrying the massive sword, Kubikiribocho. Yugao just shakes her head. Why on earth did you steal the sword that belongs to one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist? Naruto signs. Leverage. Yugao just blinks as she sighs, I guess that could work. Then a masked figure appears grabbing the sword, but the person lights up like a Christmas tree as everyone sees this as the masked figure falls on the ground. Naruto and the others are not so sure what to think of this. The figure drops onto the ground with some sparks coming off her. Hinata asks, is he? She. Alright. Naruto shrugs as she does not know. Tifa walks over to the masked figure to see if they are alright. Tifa pokes her and Bunny jumps off of Tifa's arms and nuzzles the person. Tifa has a feeling this bunny knows this person. I think we should get going, said Tifa. Naruto wakes up Tazuna by slapping him with her left. Tazuna wakes up with a start as he sees Naruto and the others. What happens? All I remember getting pick up and nothing, says Tazuna, and Naruto walk away and Yugao says, you were taking us to your house, then we got attack Zabuza. A rogue Junin, mind you, so what I thought would be a B or an A, is now a full S rank mission, as Hinata and Tifa are surprised that Zabuza is a Junin. Naruto just blinks, not caring. Then heads over to the village, then to Tazuna's home, so that we can come up with a plan, said Hinata. Yugao says, yes, and we left the person here as I don't trust them. Who knows what they will do if we hold them hostage. Naruto just starts walking as well as everyone else, as they leave both the masked person and Bunny to themselves. Soon they reach Tazuna's house. Naruto waits for the others to arrive. Naruto is sitting with her falcon on her shoulder as she has returned with a letter on her. Naruto hands the letter to Yugao. Yugao said, thank you, as she took it, opened it, and spoke out of what it says. It seems we will be having another team come and help us with this mission, says Yugao with Tifa asking, so who are they sending? Yugao checks and her face turns sour. Oh, Kami above Y, as she held the letter with her left while palming with her right. Naruto knows why she is like that. Whenever she talks about Kakashi, she holds up her scroll as it says, "It's Kakashi and his team, isn't it?" Yugao nods in yes as she makes an angry groaning sound. Naruto understands with Tifa says, "Wait. Won't that mean that, oh fucking hell?" As Tazuna is opening the door as he says, "Tsunami, I am home." As he and the others hear, "Dad, is that you?" said a woman who came out of the kitchen as she was doing something. Tazuna smiles seeing his daughter and he goes to hug her. Team 7 walks in as Tazuna says, "Tsunami met the team of super strong ladies." They bow to Tsunami and says, "Thank you for looking after my father, he can be a handful." Naruto is looking around the house as she sees not that many photos, then she notices a kid hiding behind the entrance of the kitchen. Naruto just looks at the kid with a blank stare. Next thing she knows, the kid shoots a toy dart at her as the kid, "Get out of here, you big boob." Naruto grabs it and throws it back and it sticks to his forehead as Tsunami says, "Inari. You shouldn't do that to our guests." Yugao says, "Naruto, please tell me you did not hurt the boy." Naruto shakes her head as the kid tries to take the toy dart off of his head. But can't. Yugao nods as she throws the dart back at him. The kid gives up as he says, "All of you should just run away." Naruto looks at him with a blank stare as she walks over to him and flicks her finger and hits the side of his head and the kid blinks as she has not answered him back. Tsunami says, "Oh great." Yugao says, "Naruto doesn't talk unless she truly needs to, which is seldom." Tsunami, "Wait, what do you mean?" Yugao says, "I am not allowed to say unless Naruto wants me to tell. Now then, where are we sleeping in, and please do it before Naruto here decides to, I don't know, to toss your son in the lake or something." Tsunami takes them to their room as she says, "You were kidding, right, Miss Ninja?" Yugao shakes her head. She almost gutted an idiot before. Naruto does not trust men that easy, as Tsunami, I see, as she shakes with tears in her eyes as she now worries for her son. Later in the guest bedroom, Naruto is tending to her falcon as the team is talking about what they're going to do. With Gato and his hired men as well Zabuza. Naruto sealed up the sword. Yugao says, "Now then. The first thing we are going to do." Meanwhile with the masked figure. The person with the mask starts waking up and feeling something rubbing against her. She opens her eyes and sees the white rabbit. "Oh Fufu. You're safe." She picks it up and hugs as she hears, "I see that you failed to recover my sword," said the voice of Zabuza as he is coming up to the masked girl from the sound of her voice. "Sorry Zabuza," said the masked figure. Then Zabuza asks, "So how did you not get it?" And the masked figure says, "When I touched I only remember getting shocked as a massive surge hit me. I think someone was sending lightning through the blade to prevent someone from stealing it from them." Zabuza says, "I'm starting to regretting taking this job. Yeah, almost falling from a tree, your sword cut down, then being hit by the said tree. This mission is going F. U. B. A. R. said the masked girl. "Can you stand, Haku? We need to get going," said Zabuza. Haku tries the stand but she is a little shaky as she is standing. "Can you give me a few minutes please?" And Zabuza nods as he knows that had to hurt. "Haku, do you remember anything else? Before you got shocked?" Zabuza. Haku thinks about it as she slowly can walk. You mean besides seeing that hot blonde holding your sword?" Zabuza sighs and says, "Yes, besides her." As he sometimes thinks that Haku is too girl crazy. "Well, I think one of them was a former Anbu from what I heard. One is a Hyuga and the other seems to be a fist fighter. In all it's a team full of hot babes. But I like the blonde one more," said Haku as Zabuza says, "Sometimes I think you're too crazy for girls, Haku." Haku giggles, "Sorry Zabuza," as she pets her bunny. Zabuza sighs as he says, "Let's just go," as he walks away with Haku following.